Douglas Murray.
Thank you. I should assume some of that applause was for me as I got up. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Ibn Warraq has pretty much laid it out already. As far as I can see, he's said everything that I would have wanted to say about Western values, what they are. He's defined them. There isn't, I believe, much challenge from the panel so far, or I suspect from the room, about those values. The only thing I can see that might hold up some people in the audience from voting on the right side tonight, if I may. Certain of the words in the motion, we say that we shouldn't be reluctant. We should be to assert the superiority of our values. Superiority is, I think, the troubling word we've all got here, and a couple of my predecessors have already mentioned this. You don't have to go very far in Britain, or the West in general at the moment, to find people's unwillingness to assert the superiority of their values. But they know the superiority of their values because they live with the superiority of their values. I talk at a lot of campuses, and I was at one last night in London where a student got up and started protesting because I had said that an Islamist government was of itself a bad thing, which I think it is. I just said to this student, and it's not a hard question you'd have thought to ask, I just said, well, name me one Islamist government state that you would want to live in. And this is a serious question, ladies and gentlemen. It is also a personal question, and one which, if people were honest, they would admit is personal. As a gay man, there's not a country that's run by Muslims which I could live in. One of my best friends is in hiding again tonight, Dayan Hasiali, because of what she says, and she'd be killed if she went to any Muslim country. And I think that matters. And I think the way in which this affects our personal lives does matter, and we should not ignore it. We have the great blessing of living under this system, and we take it for granted, and we spit on it, and we can because we're living in that freedom.
So once again, Douglas Murray making a great point. I think this is an excellent point, folks, that we can use as a rebuttal when we are having a discussion, a debate, or dialogue with colleagues, friends, or whoever, when they basically say, hey, Western values, or, Western democracies, or America is terrible, or Great Britain is terrible, or the Western democracies are terrible, whatever that is, and they cite example after example of us being at humans in this arena, being at our worst. The question to ask them basically is, all right, name another country under a banner that you think works. And as he said, he asked that student, okay, name an Islamic country that is run by an Islamist state, Islamist government that you would like to live under. We could turn that thing around. You could do it to anything. When you hear people talking about socialism, when you hear people talking about communism, right? Just turn around and go, all right, name a country, name a place that is run by a communist state that you would like to live, that you would love to raise your family under, that you would love to work, have your kids educated under, that you would love to have the cultures and the values that are established by that communist state or that socialist state or that dictatorship. Name a place that you would like to go. I think that, in other words, that's going to be checkmate. If that's the case and it's so bad as where you're at, why are you here then? Why don't you go live in the areas that you're basically saying are so great, whether it's religious or whether it's economic or whether it's, whatever the reason is for that state to be there and whatever umbrella it's under, whether it's a communist umbrella, whether it's a socialist umbrella, whether it's a fascist umbrella, a dictatorship umbrella, a religious umbrella. He basically puts it right out there. And the other point that he makes too is that we spit on it because we can, because we have the freedom to do so. It's just like anything else, folks. Sometimes within families, you say things, you raise your voice, you get upset, you say mean things because you can say it because it's family. And there's like a little bit of a protection around that thing. You can be a little bit more freer. But then when you go outside the family, it's not so easy to say those things. You sort of watch your words a little bit with people that you don't know because you don't want to you just don't have that same type of, give and take that you do. So I think that's what happens in Western democracies, in America and across Europe. We're living there. You know, it's freedom. We have it. You can do whatever the heck you want. Try doing that in some of these countries that clamp down on those personal freedoms and freedom of choice and freedom of expression, freedom of speech, those kind of things. Anyways, let's continue with Douglas Murray.
You, ladies and gentlemen, not to pretend that that means that we shouldn't assert the superiority of that system, because that is what it is. It is a superior system. It doesn't, and I would stress this, it doesn't have to be violently asserted. Rights and values are not asserted by violence. They are asserted by showing people your rights. They are shown by example.
Yes.
If you do not speak up for your rights, if you do not say that you think that the rights that you enjoy should not be enjoyed by other people or people with darker skin or people in other countries, then I submit that you make a great error of judgment. Mr. Glass treated us to a textbook example of Western masochism. And I know some people in the hall enjoy that, because some people laughed and clapped when he cited Western civilization and epitomized it by what? World War, Nazism, Abu Ghraib, Guantanamo. Ladies and gentlemen, if you believe that the West should be treated and regarded only as something which is treated by its lowest moments, and believe that all other cultures and all other civilizations should be treated only by their highest moments, you're already putting in an unequal challenge here.
So true,
Abu Ghraib and Guantanamo, I need hardly go without saying, ladies and gentlemen, were not representative of me, were not representative of the West. And the great difference that can't be cited, can't be reiterated enough, the great difference is that Lindy England is in prison. She is in prison and did not speak for the West. She was imprisoned and found guilty in the West, by the West, for the West. That matters, ladies and gentlemen, and it can't be stressed enough. Mr. Aranovich has already done this. But in Iran, when a couple was shot the other week for holding hands when not being married, the courts congratulated them. Ladies and gentlemen, it does not need you to want to assert your morals violently to say that that stinks and we will not be a part of it. Mr. Ramadan then went on, and I think this is an important thing to talk about, to immigrants. He did exactly the same thing that Mr. Glass did. He treated us as a society as if we were a society that just abuses immigrants, that imprisons them, locks them up. I don't know where he gets that from. I see immigrants all across our streets, many of whom are doing very well. Most people in Britain have welcomed them. There hasn't been mass violence against these immigrants. By and large, they have been welcomed. How does that happen? How would the reverse happen in Saudi Arabia? How would the reverse of that happen in any Islamic culture? Why is it that every Jew in the Middle East has had to go to Israel? Why is it that we have made the de facto agreement that if there is to be a Palestinian state, it has to be Judenrein, clear of Jews? Because we treat them by a different standard, ladies and gentlemen, and we know it, and we will not do what we need to do, which is to say this is what works for us, and this is, we believe, what could work for other people. Mr. Ramadan.
In other words, what we need to tell everybody else is we believe that our Western values are the correct ones, are the right ones, are the ones that we're going to live under. You may not want to live under them, then don't come here, don't change them, because we're not changing them for you. They've worked for thousands of years. We want those values. That is why we're here. If you want those values, then you abide by those. But plain and simple, somebody, as Douglas says, has got to stand up and just say, you don't have to, you know what? You're intimating it. And you're saying, you want to say it, they're superior, they're the superior values, they're the better values, they're the values that work for humankind. Okay, fine. You don't want to say that? Fine. But you at least be better prepared to say, these are the values we want to live under. Because if you don't want to live under those values, hey, leave. Go someplace else where those values are not taught, are not practiced, are not preached, are not done. And live under the other values if you think they're so great.
Said that we need dialogue. I agree. Everyone agrees we need dialogue. But where does it start?
Yes.
Would it start, for instance, with making a joke, contra Mr. Khomeini, not a very funny man? Or would it start with an article, perhaps? Would it start, perhaps, with a film? It did, a few years ago, with Submission, and Theo van Gogh was killed. Could it start with making a joke, perhaps? A joke in a cartoon? Well, apparently not, because we know that there were burnings and killings and lootings and riotings across the globe in reaction to those cartoons. If you're going to start a dialogue, what could you do that would be smaller than drawing a cartoon? If anyone has an idea, please let me know. But this dialogue, which we keep on being offered, is not reciprocated.
Yes.
And we can have the dialogue here in the West tonight. But how many of the countries that will be talked about by the other side could we have the same dialogue in? We get to discuss our failings because we are in the West. We get to analyze our failures because we are here. And I think that matters. I would like to finally pick up on 2 points. Firstly, the idea, and it was misrepresented by Mr. Glass straight away, and I hope you noticed it, and I hope you registered it, that Western values were being used by our side, my side of the hall, as being something which we were keeping for ourselves. Mr. Ibn Warraq did not make that statement, and nobody on our side has. We are saying that the values which people call Western are universal. That doesn't mean secularizing people. It doesn't mean making everyone else believe in your gods or in your favorite fashion item or your favorite pop star or your favorite type of food. But it does mean that the rights which the West has nurtured and brought up, exclusively the West has nurtured and brought up, should be and can be extended to other people. And I deeply resent the notion that that was misrepresented in that way, as if we were making some kind of racial exclusive claim. Our side is not. Finally, if we do not assert our values, ladies and gentlemen, who will? Who will assert them across the Muslim world? Who are the reformers in the Muslim world going to look to when they want to see and desperately need separation of church and state? If we do not say, if we do not assert and state that we believe that is the best way to live, who is going to do it in the Muslim world? Who is going to feel emboldened to do it? And Urshid Manji said a few weeks ago when she was in London, said this: if you give up on us, if you give up on yourselves, people like me are dead. And ladies and gentlemen, I think we should take that call seriously. To assert the superiority of Western values is to state the obvious. It's to have faith in ourselves, and it's to have faith in other people. Thank you.
So final parting thought, Douglas Murray, opening statement, Intelligence Squared debate. So true. If we're not going to stand up for our Western values, if we're not going to practice what we preach, if we're not going to say that these are the values that are not just good for the West, but for the East, for the North, for the South, for the entire globe, for the entire planet, for every living human being, those people in those countries that are subjugated, they're going to be looking to us. If we don't stand up, why the hell would we expect them to stand up? Right? It's, first, I'll do as you say. But first, are you going to do what you do first? Because then I'll do it. And these people need to know that there's somebody out there that is standing up for those values, that is shouting at out from the rooftops, saying that, yes, Western values are the values that are there for humankind. Anyways, folks, we appreciate you taking the time to watch. You've been watching the Dr. Nasir Shaikh Show. I've been your host. My name is Dr. Nasir. And if you haven't done so already and we've earned it and you like our content, please subscribe to the channel, like, share, and follow us. You know what to do. And check out our other videos that are links above and below. My final thought, when you're right, you're right. And when you're left, you're wrong. Until next time, folks, take care and stay safe.